Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us for an introduction to the OnBase Application Builder, which was newly released with OnBase Foundation 23.1. This exciting technology allows you to deploy the power of your OnBase solution to your end user population in a never-before-seen, easy-to-use application. So let's go over the agenda for today. So I'm going to be talking some of the basic App Builder features, going over the capabilities of App Builder in an overview, and focusing on the three primary aspects of App Builder, which are the screens, sources, and actions. We'll walk through how easy it is to create a new application, and we'll follow that up with Krause giving us an amazing demonstration. So let's jump in here. So the OnBase App Builder allows administrators to reimagine OnBase. End users can now access OnBase through tailored web interfaces that are designed to optimize the work they do. Tiled quick access screens provide direct access to frequently used OnBase features like document upload, search, and processing, but using common existing terminology that your organization uses today rather than needing to adjust to OnBase lingo. These new persona-based apps are OnBase like you've never seen, but designed in a familiar OnBase Studio environment, remaining true to Highland's point-and-click configuration roots. So why is all this important? Well, this is important because the end user experience is a top priority. This easy-to-configure application allows your organizations to empower your end users with all the capabilities and functionality of your OnBase system without them needing to be experts in an OnBase system to get the most out of your solution. Users expect their functionality to be organized by use case, not module. Users expect the language in their application to relate to the work they're actually doing. And users don't typically want to learn OnBase terminology or get trained on a brand new client. And so, for example, they should not need to know the difference between folders and custom queries. So the OnBase Application Builder is designed to create applications for specific user profiles. The goal is to tailor the user interface and functionality to meet the unique needs of a specific user or group of users represented by personas. So with the basic functionality and kind of the basics here of OnBase App Builder, so you're configuring a new UI layer or front end. Everything exists already within your OnBase application and your solution as far as what it can do and what it's capable of. So the OnBase apps use the same login mechanisms as the web client uses. OnBase apps represent a new user interface. So it uses those doc types and custom queries and workflows that are already configured. So in other words, you are just building a unique UI to pull all these features together depending on the business process or user. So the application respects standard, OnBase security as far as user permissions are concerned, as access to documents and etc. And so the builder does not maintain dependencies to configuration items since applications are intended for specific personas. So access rights is set at the app level. While there is no OnBase App Builder license, individual sources and actions are subject to normal OnBase licensing, such as access into workflow. So accessibility is another huge aspect of why App Builder is so exciting. Any browser it's compatible with or mobile device, as far as like Android or iOS, they're going to have that same look and feel to complete their job task, regardless of which method they're using to access this app. So let's get into how all this works. So apps are comprised of screens and sources and actions that are configured within OnBase Studio. So the apps are the personalized UI layer built on top of your existing OnBase system. And this is all accessed via a URL. So those apps are comprised of screens, which presents the data and actions organized in the user's language. Screens come in two major flavors. So we have the quick access screen, which provides a dashboard type view with critical information and shortcuts to commonly used actions. This screen types consist of like a card layout where you can organize your actions, source tiles, all on a quick access screen. So the other type of screen is the master detail screen. This provides the ability to sort through larger volumes of data and work directly with documents. This screen type can organize your sources, such as custom queries or workflow queues, into source groups. So sources are presenting that data or the documents from OnBase retrievals, such as custom queries, workflow queues, and even reporting dashboards. And actions, of course, are allowing users to perform specific OnBase tasks while within the app. So the major components of App Builder are the screens, the sources, and the actions. And so let's kind of dive into those a little bit here. So the screens or the application can be divided into a one-to-many of up to 10 screens. So they're displayed in the navigation bar at the top. And the first screen typically acts as your default screen, which is displayed when accessing the application. You can change the order of screens. You can change which one acts as the default. And like applications, you can navigate to screens directly through a URL, allowing users to bookmark screens they use most frequently. Screens can be different types or layouts, which allow to be catered to specific use cases. So for the initial release of App Builder, like I said before, they come in two major flavors. We have the quick access screen and the master detail. And so to give you an example here, right here, we're looking at what a example demo of the quick access screen would look like here. The primary purpose of this screen is consolidation, where we make relevant data available that would require a user to scroll through many options within the client. So at the top here, we have our simple theming where you can put your company logo and customizable text. At the top left, we're showing all the different pages that they can navigate to within this app. And so again, remember, we can have up to 10 screens configured here. In the center, we have our card, which is where we can organize our quick access tiles. Within this example card at the top, we have actions, and that's where the user can perform the configured actions here. And then below that, we have the source tiles, where it's showing those sources to be able to navigate you directly to these workflow queues. And again, all of this is language that can be configured that resonates with your common terminology that exists within your organization today. And so the next type of screen here is our master detail screen. And so this is for users that need access to larger volumes of data. Here, a user can execute searches and then filter and group the results as you would expect, like within a web client. So in this master detail screen, actions are located up here in the upper right. And then on the left over here is where you can see all those configured sources that we have. And you can see that they're organized within source groups based on the actions that they're doing, the types of data that they're working with, whether it's workflow queues or custom queries or folder searches. And again, also reporting dashboards are available. And so speaking of sources, that brings us to our next major component here, which is, of course, sources. And this is where we can link all the power and functionality of your existing OnBase solution into your app. So right now that consists of document retrieval, custom query, workflow queues, and reporting dashboards. And WorkView is coming soon to a future build. So this is an example of, again, that master detail view. Here we have a source being linked as a custom query and doc retrieval. So this is going to function just as you would expect within the OnBase web client. The ability to do those custom queries, interact with that hit list as far as searching, sorting, and filtering. And then my personal favorite is the fact that reporting dashboards can be tied into this. And so those reporting dashboards, again, will behave just like you would expect a reporting dashboard to behave on the web client. So you can interact by clicking on those pie charts and filtering that data down. And then so lastly here, the other component of App Builder is the actions. And this is where you can upload a document, create a Unity form, navigate to a source, or open an external URL. And so from this example of a quick access screen, you can see we have some actions configured up here. And this action specifically is a create form action. But notice how its naming convention makes sense for this specific business process, using clear language rather than something like create Unity form. And once that's selected, your end user is presented with the standard, the Unity form submission here. They can fill out those fields. They can submit that Unity form and get it into your OnBase application. And so just real quickly here, we can show you just how basic and easy this is to set up right within OnBase Studio. Step one, of course, is to create the new application. And then as with anything in Studio, right up next, you have your user groups that you need to add permissions to be able to have access to that application. And then you're going to add your screens and layouts. So as before, we have the master detail screen or the quick access screen. And then you can choose your data sources. So your custom queries, your doc retrievals, your reporting dashboards, your workflow queues. And then once you're choosing those and adding those in, you just get those configured, and then there you have it. As simple as that, you were able to create a custom UI interface that consolidates these different aspects of your OnBase environment. And so to get a kind of a better look of what that looks like within Studio here, you can see it kind of clearly labeled as far as like where your screens are. Here's your sources, here's your actions. And the good news here is once you're done with all this configuration, once you save and recycle that app pool, that's all it takes. There isn't a lot of complicated configuration around deploying these OnBase apps. You set that URL, you get it saved, you browse out to that URL, and there it is. It's accessible for you. And so again, this kind of translates again that Studio look to what those end users would be presented with once they actually log into that application. So at this point, I'd like to hand it over to Mr. Krause here for that amazing demonstration.
Paul, that was so exciting. I absolutely love this new screen in UI for the end user. It makes everything extremely easy for them to get their job done. And as Paul pointed out, there are a lot of different potential use cases that can be achieved using the app builder, including a departmental level for HR, contract management, accounts payable, which many of you have, accounts receivable, legal, and so on. So you can build as many different apps as you like. So let's go through and take a quick look at what one looks like. And we're going to log in as an HR user. So everyone on the call is going to be an HR user right now. We're going to log in, and this is the screen that the HR persona sees. This is what you've built as an OnBase administrator. And you can see, as Paul pointed out, our home screen is that quick access card that gives us everything we need on our home page. We've got this blue color, and we've got our HR files. We can use logos. You can change the heading if you like. We also have these action buttons, in this case, an assistance request form, along with a missing document request form button, along with 4 different workflow queues, all on tiles. So as Paul mentioned earlier, we configure these out to match with your workflow. So all of our OnBase configuration is what we use to configure our app in the app builder. And if I click on in progress, I can now be brought to the screen where I can simply interface with all of the content in that queue. And I can click on this grouping button, and I can now sort and categorize my content to more meaningful use. So I can get my most important work done first. I can also do the sorting of the columns, just like you always have in the past, and it respects that. And if I open up an item, so this is an item in workflow, you'll see in the upper right-hand corner, I have my workflow tasks. I did not need to modify my workflow in any way, shape, or form in order to extend those tasks into my app builder. I simply, by having this content available within the app builder and having security to it, I'm able to perform my workflow actions directly through this interface. So it's a really powerful way to manage my day. And on the screen, I'm right-clicking, and I don't get that long list of options that oftentimes confuse new users, especially to the OnBase world. So they don't have a large number of buttons along the top that they maybe don't have to interface with, and they don't have the right-click menu options that oftentimes confused end users into what they should be doing. They can simply click the buttons and perform the tasks that they need to do on a daily basis. So with that, this is a great first screen. You notice the screen has the request portion up here, that very first portion of the window. but I want to make it bigger because this is where my user first comes in and they want to do a little bit more with finding documents, because in HR, you're oftentimes trying to locate documents. So let's log out as our HR user and let's go into OnBase Studio where we perform our configuration. So here is that very familiar OnBase Studio interface. You'll notice that after you've done your upgrade, you now have a brand new tab called App Builder. That App Builder includes, in this particular case, that base HR screen that you saw with our 3 pages or our 3 screens, the home, the requests, and the documents. And that home has those cards, and those cards, you notice there was a request card only, but it had 2 actions associated with it, that assistance request form and the missing document request form, along with those 4 tiles that pointed to my workflow. In addition, we had some of those master detail screens with those sources that Paul mentioned. This is what is extending the content of your OnBase solution out to the app. Starting at the window here, you can see on the right-hand side, just like you do with every other workflow that you've ever built or workflow application, you have your configuration window or your parameters here on the right-hand side of the screen. And you notice that that route or this path is pre-configured. Notice it by default, based on the name, we'll fill this in for you, but you have the choice to update it. And in our case, we're going to update our theme to match our corporate goal, which our corporate goal is to be more cash rich. So we're going to make it green, like the color of money. And you can, of course, pick your font color as well, or import your logo. But in addition, like I mentioned, I want to improve that home screen. I want to extend some content on that home screen for my HR users. So I'm going to right click on my card. I'm going to go to new and select card. And the first thing I want to create here is a document. Good old documents card. And I could not type that anywhere, so I apologize. Documents, you know, the other nice thing it does is it automatically puts in a name, but I can also add user instructions if I like. In this case, I won't add any user instructions because it's just the header for that particular card. And now it inherits all of the rights for this entire application on that card. And you notice that it opened up 2 new folders, actions and tiles. So now I can configure actions and add tiles to this particular card, which is a really nice feature. So let's go in and add, because right now it's only going to say documents, just like it only said requests. We want to add some new actions to this. So the first action we want to do is add in, under our documents, new action. We want to be able to upload an I-9. And you can, these user-friendly labels can be whatever your particular HR department uses at that time. And here are the 4 actions available currently. You can see there's Unity form, data source, open an external URL, or upload a document. Well, I want to upload an I-9, so I upload document, and you notice it automatically brings up my list of document types in OnBase. I'm going to pick my I-9 form so my user doesn't have to even know which document type it should be. And now I've created an upload for I-9 action that will appear underneath that document screen. Pretty powerful and pretty easy to configure. But I also want to do one more action underneath my document. I'm going to say new action again. And this time I want to do a find. I'm going to say find employee and click next. And here I'm going to select a new option underneath here. I want to go to my data source. And my data source here. And now I have to say, where do I get my data from? Well, I'm going to get it from my documents data source. My data source group will be employee documents. And then my data source is find an employee. There's my summary screen, click finish, and now I've added a second action to my screen. So I can upload an I-9, I can find an employee. But I want to do one more thing, just to show you how easy it is, and that is to extend a custom query out. In order to do that, I am going to go down to my documents master detail, my employee documents, where I have my sources, and you see there's the find an employee source that I just used to extend that search on my documents tile. In this case, I'm gonna right click and say new source, and that new source is going to be a custom query. You can see I got my custom query here. And with my new source, now I can give it that friendly label, and I'm going to just say find a document. Because this is what they're going to do when they click the button. They're going to find a document leveraging a custom query. And you can see here, I'm going to pick my employee documents. And you can also see that the workflow actions and system tasks, I can enable those in the custom query hit list so that they can take actions from those documents that they open up. In this case, I'm not going to extend those rights. They'll only do that from the workflow. And then I click finish. So I've added a brand new source called find a document. Now the custom query is extended out, and all they know it as is find a document. The last thing I want to do is extend that to my end user. So here's my documents tile. I'm going to add one more new action to find a document. This is what the user will click in order to access that custom query. So now I want to click my data source, and I'm going to pick my documents screen. My source group is employee documents still, but now I have my find a document source that I just created. And I'll click finish. And that's it. So now I've created a brand new section with 3 new actions on it and a new data source. Of course, just like you always do whenever you're doing Configuration Studio, you have to save it. And I'm going to do a quick reset to make sure all my changes are populated. And as with any of these apps, when you're working with your users, getting their terminology, meeting with them, and having the conversation is really important to ensure that you have everything that they need. So we're going to log in. And because we did a reset, it'll take just 1 extra second as it builds the IIS cache. But now that home screen for my HR user, that persona will have all of the features and things that they need at their fingertips so they can be more effective. And that's true if you're working in contracts, legal. And here you can see our green money color right at the top. This can match your corporate logo, your corporate color scheme. And we've got our brand new documents with our upload I-9 task action, our find employee action, and our brand new source, that custom query, find a document. And as Paul pointed out, as an end user, they don't care if they have a custom query. They just need to know they got to find their documents, and they can type in a value, they can do their sorting and grouping, and they can also click the actions that were extended directly from here. And just as Paul mentioned, all the same security, all the same rights, including autofills, work perfectly in the app builder. So you'll have all the same features that you always had, but extended out in a very user-friendly interface. So with that, Paul, I'm going to turn it back to you now that they've seen how easy it is to build it.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you, Chris. That was wonderful. And so let's just kind of recap what we learned today about App Builder. And so really at a base level, we're reimagining OnBase user interface for our end users. Again, our end users are our top priority. So we have those persona-based apps. We have quick access tiles for easy access to the most important work that they're doing. And this is all completely configurable for each person in your organization. And most importantly, it is absolutely free. It is included with the version 23.1. No additional licensing is needed. You simply just need to upgrade to 23.1 and beyond, and you will unlock access to this amazing functionality. And so if you have additional questions or want to learn more, everything that we were able to show you today, you can get your hands on there as far as tryonbase.com. You can test drive an environment. And then, of course, there's lots of free, not just the premium, but free training available out there on Highland University as well. So again, of course, we appreciate your participation today. Thank you so much for joining us. And let us know when you're ready to upgrade.